Former President Donald Trump has never been one to shy away from controversy. His recent pronouncements on the ongoing war in Ukraine are no exception. Trump has publicly questioned Ukraine's role in the conflict, suggesting that a deal could have been struck with Russia to prevent the war. This stance has ignited a firestorm of reactions, with many criticizing Trump for appearing to side with Russia and undermine Ukraine's fight for sovereignty. Trump's comments come against the backdrop of ongoing peace talks between the US and Russia. While these talks are intended to find a diplomatic solution to the conflict, Trump's suggestion that Ukraine is somehow to blame for the invasion has raised eyebrows. Critics argue that this narrative echoes Russian propaganda and downplays Russia's aggression. Adding fuel to the fire is Trump's call for Ukraine to hold elections. This demand aligns with a key condition set by Russia for any peace agreement. The Kremlin has long sought to install a pro-Russian government in Kiev, and holding elections under the shadow of war could provide an opportunity to achieve this goal. Trump's vocal interventions have put him at odds with the current US administration and many European leaders. They fear that his pronouncements could undermine efforts to present a united front against Russia. The stakes are incredibly high, and the world is watching closely as the situation continues to unfold. At the heart of Trump's critique is Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump has questioned Zelensky's leadership, arguing that a more skilled negotiator could have averted the war altogether. He points to the devastation inflicted upon Ukraine and implies that Zelensky's decisions have come at a steep cost. Trump has also cast doubt on Zelensky's popularity, claiming his approval rating stands at a meager 4%. This assertion, however, has been met with skepticism. Zelensky, for his part, points to his landslide election victory in 2019 with 73% of the vote as evidence of strong public support. Zelensky has vehemently defended his actions, arguing that he was left with little choice when faced with Russian aggression. He maintains that Russia's objective was never simply to secure concessions, but to obliterate Ukraine as a sovereign nation. The debate over whether Zelensky could have made a deal with Putin is a complex one. Critics of this viewpoint argue that it's impossible to know what backroom discussions might have taken place, or what concessions, if any, could have appeased Putin. They also emphasize that acceding to the demands of an aggressor sets a dangerous precedent. Trump's call for elections in Ukraine has emerged as a major point of contention. While presented as a path to peace, critics view it as a thinly veiled attempt to legitimize Russia's invasion and advance its interests. Holding elections while parts of Ukraine are still under Russian occupation raises serious concerns about fairness and transparency. Zelensky has pushed back against the demand for immediate elections, arguing that they can only be held once Russian troops have withdrawn and displaced Ukrainian citizens are able to vote freely. He views the call for elections under duress as a cynical ploy to undermine Ukrainian sovereignty. The international community is divided on the issue of elections. Some see it as a necessary step toward a negotiated settlement, while others fear that it would reward Russia's aggression and set a dangerous precedent. The question of whether elections can be held fairly and transparently in the current environment remains a significant obstacle to any lasting peace agreement. The debate over elections in Ukraine underscores a fundamental challenge in resolving the conflict, defining what a just and lasting peace would look like. For Ukraine, it means the full restoration of its territorial integrity and sovereignty. For Russia, it likely involves securing some level of control or influence over Ukraine. Trump's pronouncements on Ukraine have not gone unnoticed on the world stage. European leaders, already wary of Trump's foreign policy instincts, have expressed concern that his comments could derail efforts to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. They fear that his willingness to appease Russia could embolden Putin and prolong the war. The Biden administration has been quick to distance itself from Trump's remarks, reiterating its unwavering support for Ukraine and its right to self-determination. The US has provided billions of dollars in military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine since the start of the conflict and has imposed crippling sanctions on Russia. The international community faces a delicate balancing act in navigating the current crisis. On the one hand, there is a pressing need to find a diplomatic solution that prevents further bloodshed and suffering. On the other hand, there is a recognition that Russia cannot be allowed to achieve its objectives through military force, and that any peace agreement must uphold Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. As the war in Ukraine grinds on, the world watches anxiously, hoping for a swift and just resolution. The path to peace remains fraught with challenges, and Trump's pronouncements have only added to the complexity of the situation. Only time will tell what impact his words will have on the ultimate outcome of the conflict.